In this video, I'm going to show you how to run the Minmatar Thrasher to clear T0 Tranquil Abyss. To start, be sure to buy 2 Tranquil Firestorm filaments. Don't buy Calm, as that's a different tier, that's T1, and it's much harder than Tranquil, so be sure to buy 2 Tranquil Firestorm filaments. We're buying 2 because we're a destroyer, and destroyers need 2, and they need to be in a fleet to run this. For our turrets, we're going to equip 7 250mm artillery projectile turrets, meta 3 or above. If you can afford meta 4 or meta 5, I recommend taking those, as you can clear even faster, and that means you can earn your money back faster. Don't take anything below meta 3, as you may run into complications in terms of not dealing enough damage, and as far as I can tell, the meta 3 is just as cheap in most places, so there's no economical advantage to taking anything less right now. In my tests for this video showcase, I'm using the meta 3 250mm light gallium cannon. For our ammo, we're going to take phased plasma small. We're taking this ammo specifically because it deals mostly thermal damage, and this ammo is a key part to the success of this build. I'll explain that later in the video. For our mid slots, we're going to take 1 meganewton monopropellant enduring afterburner, and this will allow us to move almost 600 meters per second. Keep in mind that the reason why we're allowed to cruise around at a humble 600 meters per second is because we can hit things from a decent range thanks to our choice of artillery turrets. If we were to have fit auto cannons, this build would not work at this speed. You would have to move around a lot faster. Be sure to follow the build exactly, and you'll be able to clear everything with reasonable ease as long as you're paying attention. For our second mid slot, we're going to fit an X5 enduring Stasis Webifier. This is to help us hit things. Our artillery turrets with phased plasma S have poor tracking speed, pretty poor tracking speed, it's under 100. So this will help us greatly on fast moving enemies. I'll be covering how to beat specific encounters later in the video, so be sure to watch that for full understanding of this build. For our third mid slot, we're going to equip a small, compact lead-acid cap battery. This module increases the size of our capacitor. It doesn't require any extra skills, and it works great with the Thrasher's relatively swift capacitor recharge time. For our low slot, we're going to equip a small IA enduring armor repairer. This is for repairing our ship's armor. If you look at the Thrasher's ship description, it tells us that it's supposed to be a shield fit ship, meaning the game expects us to fit a shield booster. However, I've tried that, and armor really is the better option here. Most of the difficult enemies you'll encounter in Tranquil Abyssal Deadspace deal EM damage, so the innate high resistance that armor has against EM, 50%, or in this case 60%, works really well here. For the other low slot, we're going to equip a Counterbalanced compact Gyrostabilizer. This provides significantly improved damage. In addition, for our rigs, we're going to equip a small Projectile Collision Accelerator 1 and a small Projectile Burst Aerator 1. Both of these help us deal more damage. Collision Accelerator makes us hit harder, and Burst Aerator makes us shoot faster. With all of this combined, our base DPS with minimum skills using meta 3 turrets is 102.5 DPS. It's a lot lower than other fits that I've covered so far, but when it's in Tranquil Firestorm filament, it makes up for it by dealing almost all of its damage as thermal, which is the enemy's weak point. For people who have watched multiple of my videos now on Abyssal Deadspace, you might be wondering why I always recommend Firestorm filament. And there's a specific reason for that. The strongest enemy in Tranquil Abyssal Deadspace is the Skybreaker. The Skybreaker is shield tanked and deals EM / a little bit of kinetic damage. But in Firestorm, the bonuses that Firestorm provides are for armor and thermal damage. So by taking a ship that relies on armor and thermal damage, we gain all the bonuses of Firestorm filament, while the Skybreaker gains absolutely none. I'd also like to share a few special quirks about the Thrasher. For most other ships, they sport a 50% EM resistance for their armor, and most other ships have a 10% bonus resistance somewhere on their ship to differentiate them from other ships. For the Thrasher, that 10% happens to be tacked on to the EM resistance of armor. So instead of 50% EM resistance, they get 60% EM resistance to armor. But since this is damage reduction, that extra 10% ends up being the equivalent of a 20% bonus to EM resistance, which is insane, especially in the Abyss where the highest damage will come from EM. So even without any extra resistances, the Thrasher does a great job of holding its own against T0 Abyss with just a single armor repairer. The second quirk is not specific to the Thrasher, but the Thrasher uses projectile turrets, and projectile turrets can choose to deal either high EM damage, thermal damage, or explosive damage just by switching out their ammo, and it doesn't use any capacitor to fire. So running out of capacitor and not being able to shoot is not a concern for the Thrasher like it is with the other ships like the Coercer and the Catalyst. Also, we can sport a much lower DPS on paper, but still deal just as much damage in practice because we can target all of our enemies' weak points. That's why we use Phased Plasma S as our ammo, because almost everything in the Abyss is going to be weak to thermal because of the reduced thermal resistances they get in Tranquil Firestorm Filament. The final quirk is something that you may notice during your play. It's not a big deal, but the Thrasher does have the lowest targeting range of the sniper destroyers. It has a range of 30 kilometers. So anything outside of 30 kilometers, you're not allowed to even begin targeting. It's not that big of a deal because most things can't hit you from that range anyway, and you can't hit them. But it is something that you'll have to keep in mind because you'll have to be more alert in targeting things on time because you have less of a buffer of distance from when you can start targeting them. Now that we've covered that, let's talk about the required skills that you need to pilot this ship. There's not that many skills that you need to train. The only things that you need to train if you start off as part of the Minmatar faction is Minmatar Frigate from level 1 to level 3. Then you train up Minmatar Destroyer to level 1, so you can pilot the ship. Then the only other thing that we need is Repair Systems 1 to equip the Armor Repair module. Everything else should be skills that you already have. So that's it. Now we have our build, we have our skills, and we know a little bit about the Thrasher and what we're going to delve into. Let's talk about the specific encounters that you'll run into in Tranquil Abyss. Right. So in this encounter, we're going to be fighting the Skybreaker Disparu troop. This is largely considered the most difficult encounter in T0 Abyss, but not for this ship specifically, actually, because we're very, very well suited to fight the Skybreaker specifically. But let me just show you what we'll be doing for most of our encounters. If you want to watch some of the other videos that I've made, I go into more details as well. But right now, we're going to lock as soon as we get in range. We're going to approach with an Afterburner. We're going to shoot as soon as we can feasibly lay on some damage. We're going to Webify as soon as we get within the 10-kilometer range. So we have our Webifier on, and once we hit our armor, that's when we turn on the armor repairer. We're going to keep at range about 5 kilometers. We don't want to get too close because if we're too close, then our guns start missing as well. Remember, these are artillery or whatever you call the it's been a while since I played, but these are the long-range turrets, so you don't want to get too close. Be sure to keep a fair distance. It should be pretty easy between the Afterburner and the Webifier, but we just stay just like this. For the Skybreaker specifically, we're not even going to bother with moving around. I've noticed that moving, not moving, it doesn't change the amount of damage you take for the Skybreaker specifically. So like I said, we're just going to keep doing this, whittling away at our target. We can do this for most of the encounters in the Abyss, if not all of them. Just be sure to have your Webifier on the target that you're attacking, because remember, this ship does have relatively poor tracking speed, and the Webifier helps a lot to deal the optimal damage. As you can see, we still have a good amount of armor left. The Skybreaker didn't have a chance at all. So yeah, the Skybreaker is the hardest encounter for most ships, and we completed that with ease. We didn't even get into hull, much less get destroyed. So this is a great option for you to pick. The next encounter that I'm going to explain is the actual most difficult encounter for this ship specifically, and that is going to be the Attacker Pacifier Disparu Troop. This ship is a missile-based armor-tanked ship. It hits really hard, but it shoots very infrequently, about once every 10 seconds. It has a fairly well-spread tank. I think its defenses are 30% all across the board. You can see that it did a double hit just now. It has a very powerful alpha strike. As it approaches you, it's going to dip very deep into my armor, but the trick here is just to move around within your firing range, so within your optimal range, but move around as fast as you can. So either by approaching or orbiting, make sure that you're moving as fast as you can, because the missiles do deal less damage if you are moving very quickly. So as I was playing this, I was kind of clenching my butt because I'm getting really close to getting into hull, but we're dealing damage, we're whittling it away, we kill it, we're left with just a little bit of armor. So even when you don't have any shields, this is possible to clear at minimum skills without delving into hull or anything like that. So it's very safe. Just be sure to remember that you need to have your turrets on at all times when you get close enough. It does have some leeway if you forget. If you're a new player, that's perfectly all right. Just do your best, and I think you'll be okay. So that's really all I have to show you in terms of the Thrasher. This is a really great build. It's very, very cheap compared to most of the other builds, and I think it will serve you very well. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm not sure when I'm going to make another Eve video. One thing that I've noticed about my video making schedule is that I really have to be in the mood to create the video at the time I'm creating it and editing it. Turns out I really hate editing, so for all the people who wanted this video like 3 months ago or something like that, I had it ready. I just really don't like editing, so it got delayed 3 months. I really have to figure out a way to align my wants for creating a video and the actual process of it. So that's in the works. But again, this channel really is going to be a work in progress for me and my workflow. If you don't get to see your video on time, I do apologize for that. I know you guys, you guys are here because you like my content, but I'll probably be moving to some other videos, maybe some D&D videos. We'll see. Hope you stick around for that. Hope it's just as entertaining. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Docking permission requested.